What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming to DB and JB's Pallet Creations. This is the first video on our channel. If you're wondering where DB, or I'm DB, if you're wondering where JB's at, she's upstairs making dinner. She will never come down here. She hates the basement. This is where I do all my stuff. So let's get to the meat and potatoes. Today, we're going to be making a AM and PM wine sign. I know that they're like the hugest things that people are starting to love nowadays. They're, you know, it's how you tell time. AM is coffee mugs, PM is the wine signs. So that's what I'm gonna do. I already broke down a pallet. If you can't tell, you know, Pallet Creations, everything I make is gonna be out of pallets. Like I made my work desk out of a pallet. I just have a bunch of stuff. Like, if you wanna see how many pallets I have pallets over there, I have pallets over here, I have pallets over there. I just have a ton of pallets. I'm ready to make some Pallet Creations. So I have two boards here. It's 1 inch thick by 6 inches wide by 44 inches long. The wine sign that we're gonna make today is about 16 inches wide and by 18 length, you know, about, you know. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to measure out the 16 inches, which I already have marked on my thing. If you're gonna be making a lot of these like I do, you automatically have it marked. So you wanna make it exactly 16 inches. So I just go and I mark out 16 inches. I think one board can give me at least 2 boards. Then I'll have to use the other one for like the third piece. That's 2 lines. Measure out the pieces. See? Measure them out. I guess this are 2, and then we can get the next one. Measure that out. Now you got 3 pieces. The wine sign is you're normally gonna want 3 pieces max.
So here I just kind of clamp down the wood with just some cheap clamps you can get at Walmart. They're probably $3 for each one. It's pretty nice. And then I saw that I had some staples hanging out of the wood, so I used the Sawzall just to get it out of the way so I can cut it.
You want to cut the 16 inches right here, straight down the line. And if you don't have like a super ultimate tool like a miter saw, you can just use a rotating saw. It's pretty good. 1 down, 2 to go. Let's do this. See these? I don't know if you can see them, but they're like obnoxious. Nah, here I'll show you. On the other, someone like stapled these like staples, you know, like these long wood staples, I guess. And I can't nail them out because I've tried it; it just bends them. So I tried them on an earlier wine sign. So what I do is I usually just get a Sawzall, and cut them out. That way, you know, you can use this part, the ugly part, for the back part. Gives it a nice rustic look that people like to have. Alright, so that takes care of the Sawzall. Make sure that when you are done using a tool, just unplug it right away, wrap it up and take care of it instead of waiting till later. There's really no rush to do a project. Safety is always number one. You know, you never want to plug in tool while you're using another one. I know I had it plugged in before because I had to use it, but if you're not going to use it, take care of it. Safety first, just in case something crazy happens. So, cut my third piece. Not too shabby. We got 3 pieces here. Now all we gotta do is sand them down. Everybody's favorite part, right? Rotating sander. Freaking awesome. I recommend everyone who wants to get into these small projects to get a rotating sander. Not one of these. I mean, you can have one. It's good. I have 2 sanders now, so this one has a 120 grit on it, just to, you know, finalize everything. This one's an 80 grit. I like using 80 grit for all my projects. One, because everything I use is pallets, and 80 grit usually helps me get all the dirt and in pallet, whatever the use was for it. Make sure you always double check your pallets too to see if they're healthy or not. And you can go to 1001pallets.com and they'll give you a whole description on what a healthy pallet is. If you need to know what it is, the link is down below and it's attached right here somewhere, if I can do that still. So, I'll speed up to where I start unplugging everything and getting everything into place, and then we'll see what we can do. So now we're gonna sand down all of this stuff. You know, I use 80 grit to sand it down. And make sure you always have some over your face. I don't have a lot of, I just threw out my face guard, so I found a bandana. Bandanas work. Just make sure you don't breathe in all that gunk from the pallets, because you don't know how old they are, you don't know what they were used for. So it's better safe than sorry. Know what I'm saying? Let's get started. Now for me, for my wine sign, I always like rounding the tips here. Like I like rounding them so, you know, they're not so bulky, and it gives it that more of a, you know, rustic homey look. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Those little things are all over the place. Gotta sweep up and but all right, so now do you see the difference? See how it's rounded on this side? You see how it's pointy on this side? It just makes it look nicer. I usually don't do it to the middle piece, but because this is the top piece, I'm gonna do the top. So that if you can imagine the top, it's gonna be rounded. These are gonna be flat like they are, and then the middle is gonna be flat, and then the bottom part is gonna be rounded, but the top part is not. It just gives it a better look, you know, just a better rustic look. And I didn't talk about it before, but I always like to sand the back part, not much, but just enough to where, you know, your customer or the person that you're making this for yourself, when you go to put it up on the wall, you're not going to splinter yourself. You're not going to regret it later. So I'm going to hurry up and sand the rest of these, and the next time you see me, all these will be sanded down, and we'll get to the next step. So here's a sanded one, and here's, you know, to be determined sanded one. And this is, you know, this is how it's pretty much going to look. It's going to come together like this. So you got the top, middle, and the bottom part. And, you know, it's all going to come together. And, you know, make sure when you're sanding, if you're using pallet wood, you want to leave these little tiny little areas in here just to give it a more rustic look, because, you know, rustic is in right now, so you want to make sure that you keep your projects as rustic as possible. So it's a work in progress. I can see a wine sign, can't you? I can see it. It'll be there. See, now here's the 3 boards that are finished. And this is what I like about pallet wood, is that you never know where you're gonna get down in the grain. So it just looks, to me it looks awesome, you know what I mean? And right here's where the wine glasses are gonna hang, and about right here and right here is where the hooks are gonna go for the coffee mugs. And then right here is gonna say how to tell time, AM and PM. So I'm pretty excited. So now what we do is we flip these boards over, and we gotta get a good rough view of what the back's gonna look like. And we gotta start figuring out how we're gonna put this together. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 2 10-inch by, I think about 2 inches, 3 inches, about right here. You can actually see the lines, you know, they're where you're gonna have them. I'm gonna put one here and one here to keep it together. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start cutting that out, and I think it'll look nice once we're done. I found these 2 pieces, just random scrap pieces that I had from an old pallet from making these before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna measure out 10 inches. And because I don't like the nails, you know, I don't like the nails from where I use the Sawzall on the pallet itself to get them off. I usually just draw a little line, and then I measure 10 inches from that line to here. So that's 10 inches for the back, which will look really nice in the back of this once it's sanded down. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut them, and then I'm gonna sand them down. So anytime you use a rotating saw or a Sawzall or, you know, a jigsaw, make sure you always have eye safety, because you don't want to go blind from being stupid, you know. So just wanted to throw the extra tidbit in there before I get all this put together. You know, you just safety first. Now let's speed this part up. Okay, so now that I have the two little planks cut to 10 inches, I'm gonna start sanding them down. I'm gonna speed through this like I've done the rest of the video. That way you guys don't have to constantly sit there and watch me do it. It'd be grueling, you know? Got the most important rule of them all. Safety. Don't want to breathe in the extra crap. Okay, so now that we have the two planks sanded down really well, we're gonna apply it to the back of the boards, which I'll show you in a second. But, so, I like using a clamp to make sure everything's tight before I screw in any parts. So I take this long clamp, and I go from the top part here, where you can see, and I come all the way down here, and I try to tighten it as best I can without making the boards pop up. And that way, I know it won't pop up, and the boards won't move while I'm sanding, or while I'm screwing in the boards. See how it's gonna look, and then we're gonna mark, hopefully you guys see this, but I'm gonna mark one spot there, one spot there, one spot there, because I wanna pre-drill these before I do anything, and that way I don't crack the wood or split the wood or do anything crazy, you know, because I'll just put you in a bad mood and you'll have to start all over again, and who wants to do that? Not me. So all you gotta do is drill your 3 parts here. Make sure it goes all the way through. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So, to do in the next one. Alright, now that that's done, take your little drill bit thing out of there, replace it with another thingamajigger for your Phillips head. I love pre-drilling. It always saves a lot of time. And I mean, if you're in a hurry, I guess you don't have to, but I recommend always doing it. Then I use 8x1 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want to use 6 of them. 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6. And then you can screw in, but you can screw in your nails now. Not all the way through, because you're going to want to use some wood glue to make sure that, you know, it dries. That way your wine side never really comes apart. And the screws are used normally just as clamps for the glue. See? So you don't want them all the way through, that way you can put the glue on the back of them. So I like using I mean, it's cheap. That's why I use it. It's the Gorilla wood glue. You can get it at Walmart. You can get it at Lowe's. You can pretty much get it anywhere. But I just like globbing the stuff on. You know, on both. Make sure you do both. That way you don't have to stop in between. Really glob it. Globber on there. So here, I'll show you what I mean. So now, what you want to do, you really want to spread that glue in with your finger. Try to get all of the areas, the wide parts. You know, you want to do both. Just want to make sure you get it all up in there. I think this is my favorite part about doing any wood project is the wood glue. I really don't know why. Maybe it's because it's just satisfying to peel the glue off your finger once you're done. Leave in the comments if you think, what's your favorite part of making a project? Sanding down, nailing, cutting the wood, the finished product. In my personal opinion, I like all of the processes, but my favorite is the glue, just because, how addicting is it? Just to try to peel off that glue. So all you gotta do is use the screw part. So when you put it down, kind of, you want to make sure you get something like a T-square to make sure you have everything balanced. Maybe you want to screw in one first, just so you can use the other one. It's kind of like a level. You know what I mean? Like you just slide it in. And that way they both line up together. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll show you what I mean. That way the top parts can line up together, so when you screw them in, you know, it kind of has some little continuity to it. So that's what I'll do. Now those screws will act as a clamp for the wood glue. So it's pretty much, it'll never come apart, hopefully. I mean, usually wood glue is a lot stronger than the actual screws that you put it on. It just depends on the wood glue that you use. Okay. So before I do that, I'm going to measure 2 inches. I always like to have things about 2 inches away from the edge. That way, it helps me later on when I'm putting on the wine part, the wine rack. That's just my preference. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. So I'm just lining that up with the 2 inches, lining up with the T-square. I'm going to hurry up and screw it in. And there we go. We have the screws. Screw it in. Now we can remove the clamp that we put in here before. It made everything so solid. And the moment of truth comes up to see if we did it right. Hopefully 98%, 99%, about 100%. Aim towards that percentage. You'll usually have it right. So let me go put this over here real quick. Let's raise it up for the moment of truth. Ready? I think that looks really nice. Now what we're going to do, something about right here. We're going to put the wine rack. We're going to hang the mug. Alright, I think the wine rack's going to go over here, and we're going to put the mugs here. So, the thing looks pretty good, in my opinion. In my opinion, it looks pretty shabby. Let's go over there and pick a little wine racky part to attach to this thing. I'm really excited to see how it turns out. Okay, so now that we got the wine sign almost done, I went ahead and started screwing in the 2 big screws to line up where the shelf's going to be. I don't know if you can see it, but I lined it up right about here. Now I'll show you the dimensions here in a second. Okay, so the first screw right here where the shelf is going to go, I put the screw in about 4 inches from the side, and I put it about 3 inches down. Can you see that? About 3 inches down. And then I put this other screw, the one that's right here, put it about 2 1/2, 2 5/8, depending on where you're looking at it. away from it, and I drew a straight line. That way I knew that I was going to line them up perfectly. Now I grabbed a piece of plank wood again for the where the wine glasses are going to stay. I think it's going to be a pretty nifty, pretty thick piece for the wine glasses so they don't fall out. Kind of made a little cheat sheet for myself because I've made these before, and so your wine rack is probably going to want to be about 8 inches by 3 3/8, but you know, pallet wood's always, it varies, so you have, it should be roughly that size. And then 2 1/4 inside, about 1/2 inch apart, so it slides right in. And then 2 1/4 away from each other. Make sure that it's about 2 inches deep into the thing. I drew a little, so this is where it's going to end. This is where I'm going to cut it. This is where I'm going to use the jigsaw to cut it in. And for the first time, Jenna got me these spade bits. Or JB got me these spade bits. So I'm going to try to use a 3/4 to drill a hole, so when the wine glass slides in, it'll just set right in that hole, and I think it'll keep it in place. So the only time it will come out is if someone pulls a wine glass to come out. It's the first time I've tried it. I think I'm gonna start using it if it works out good for me. So let's see what it looks like. So I'm gonna just finalize drawing that line here on my triangle. If I don't throw my pencil. Okay, so it's all drawn out. Now let's use the 3 4 spade bit and see what happens. Here we go. I'm gonna line it right up with that. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, there we go. Straight through. Nice. All right, now I'm gonna use the next one. What you want to do is what I'm doing. Here, let's see if you can see it. I'm lining up the point end to about center of where I want the hole to go, and then I kind of just slowly make my way through. It's really hard to do with one hand, so I'm gonna sit you back over there. So, all right, here we go. Ready? Okay. Looks like it went through. I'm gonna just try to touch it up a little bit. It's not very nice. All right. So now that I got my holes drilled, well, I'm actually pretty pumped that turned out pretty good. So now, see where the lines start? I'm gonna try to go right up here. I kind of lined them up a little bit. So now we're gonna take the jigsaw, and we're gonna line it up right here. This is where, the round part of the wine glass is gonna hang out. I think it's gonna look really good. Honestly, in my honest opinion, I think it's gonna look right. So let's go hook up the jigsaw and get started. Oh wow, yeah, that's gonna look real nice. I'm making myself happy over here. Oh, hey, where you going? I also like that hole there. This is the first time I've done the hole, but I like the hole because I won't have to use a jigsaw to try to, carve my little square out. I think this is gonna be a good idea. All right. I think that turned out pretty good with the hole, with the 3/4 spade bit. I think that looks pretty good. And then you can slide the wine glass right in there, and it'll set right in there. I think it's gonna look good. Now I'm gonna take my Orba sander. I'm gonna sand it down first before I cut it. That way everything's good to go, and then I'll just cut it. All right. So let's get to sanding. My favorite part. Not really. It's not really my favorite part. I don't know why. It's just not my favorite. I'm gonna speed this up. now that I have my piece cut out, I'm going to sand the rest of it up. And then I'm going to give it a nice like rounded edge. You know how I did with the boards. I'm going to give this a nice rounded edge. I'm going to round up this part. That way it really gives that good, you know, smooth sliding feel when you put your wine glass in there. So I'm going to speed it up. Okay, so now that I got it sanded down pretty much to where I want it, see how it has some of these rough spots that I can't get in? I don't have a tool to get in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an old piece of like sandpaper that you have laying around, and you kind of get in there. So you get the 120 grit, you kind of roll it up. I've never had the holes, so I think this is going to work. I'm just going to roll it up. I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to try to hand sand it down to where I think it would be. It'll work. I'm going to tell you, I got a sponge sander also, where you can go and you can get some of the areas that you couldn't get with the sander. You can just kind of like touch it up. Just do it the best you can, you know? And especially the bottom part, you don't really have to worry about, because this is going to be the top. You're going to be attaching this part to the top, so, or to the wine stein. I have a feeling it's going to look awesome. I really do. I'm gonna touch up this a little bit, and then the next part is me attaching it to the wine stein. And we're almost done, guys. Okay, so now, like I said, I had the nails already in there. So this might not be the best way to do it, but this is how I do it. I kind of just line up the back part, and I grab my hammer. You know, you can get a rubber mallet, you can get your regular hammer, you can get whatever you want. You just kind of have to line it up where you think it's going to look best. You kind of just don't nail it on. Just tap it, and that way you can get holes on the back there. Then you can take your drill, you pre-drill the back part. That way you don't split the wood, and you kind of have to make sure that it's not gonna. The screw that you're going to use is going to come out this side. You know, it's not going to come through where the wine glass is going to be. So you just kind of pre-drill just a little bit. You don't need to do a lot, because, you know, the screw is really just going to be there just to support it. You can line them up. This is probably a perfect time to use more of your sponge sander, just to get rid of those like spots, so that way you can just slide it right on to your screws, and that way when you tilt it up, you can just screw it right on and you're happy living, man. But use wood glue also on the sides here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you want to use your wood glue, and you just kind of want to like lightly touch it right here, and that way not only are the screws keeping it in place, you're also wood gluing it on there. And like I said before, sometimes the wood glue is a lot stronger than the actual screws that you're using. It's coming. Alright, so now I got a little bit of that glue. You see that? Okay. You don't need a lot for this part. And then you just want to kind of take your finger and slide it around, kind of make sure there's enough on there, and wipe the axis off. That way it doesn't show on the wine stein. See, that's all you gotta do, and it'll dry up real nice. Now what you do, now that I switched the drill, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line up the holes with the screws that we made before, and it should just slide right on, which it did. You know, and you can take your rubber mallet, make sure it's just tapped on. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'm not done showing you how to do this. I'm not done. Okay, so anyways. Now you tilt it up like this. You can tap it in if you want. And then you just take your screw. You ready? And you just screw it in. And the screw itself will make it flush up against the wine sign. But you want to make sure you kind of like eyeball it, try to do double. That way you're not stripping the screw like I kind of sort of am right now. So now you have it attached. That's what it looks like. It looks pretty good in my opinion. And then you got the hooks that go here. So I'm gonna give this to JB. She's gonna stain it down, and then it will give us our finished product. If you like this product and you want to have a wine sign like this, please support JB and me at our Etsy account. We actually have an Etsy account. It's going to be right here, right where my hand is, and it's going to be in the description down below. If you like this video, please subscribe. It means a lot to us. Make sure you thumbs up, and it just shows us that we can make more. If there's any tips that you would like to give me, because like I said, I'm not a professional. I just started doing this year, and it was just something it's kind of like a hobby. I like doing it. So if you have any tips you can give me, please leave down in the comments. I'm open up to suggestions. You can even tell me I suck, but don't. You can. Please don't. But yeah, that's the end of our video. Tell me what you guys think. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time. The next video is going to be me breaking down a pallet. If that's something you'd be interested in, let me know down in the comments. Thank you and have a great day. Bye!